They were scary. They were great.
I loved it.
Hey, you want to see something really scary?
You bet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, this is really, really scary now.
I trust you.
Okay, pull the car over.
Pull the car over?
Okay. Scare me.
Wanna play hide and clap?
One terrifying scene is not an original concept, far from it. In fact, it may be a little outdated, but it poses a question I always enjoy seeing other channels talk about. It's a question whose answer differs from person to person. What scares one person will be different to what scares another. More importantly though, it's a question I've had an answer to for a long time. I watch a lot of horror films, and when done right, which is becoming increasingly more rare, they are great.
I'm just gonna scooch in right here if you don't mind.
However, I couldn't tell you, honestly, the last time a film, be that horror or not, actually scared me. Films make me happy and sad. They can even inspire or anger me, but not scare me. They may make me jump, sure. But nothing of recent memory has installed that little pit one gets in their stomach at the sight of something that really disturbs them, really shocks them, something that sticks with you for a few days after seeing it. There is one scene that does this to me. Most of you would most likely not find it particularly disturbing or scary, especially by today's standards. But like I said, this is why I find the question so intriguing. It's such a personal thing. Given the thumbnail, you can probably take a good guess of what the scene is. Even still, I think it's best if I lay a little foundation first. Jaws is a classic. I know, crazy take, right? For better or worse, it birthed the summer blockbuster. It's a film that has everything. A film that could be enjoyed by anyone. I've never met someone who dislikes it. Not to say that would be a bad take. Personal taste is personal taste. But overall it seems to garner fans, whoever watches it. I like to think of the film as split into two parts. The first one is on land, following Sheriff Brody on the seafront, doing his best to keep the terrified townspeople happy and the mayor at bay. The second part is what I intend to focus on, when the shark killings become too much and the waterphobic sheriff has to venture out to the coastline to help catch the beast himself. Sheriff Brody isn't the one I want to talk about though. No, I want to talk about Quint, the tough as nails shark killing veteran, played to utter perfection by the late great Robert Shaw, who gives us an incredible performance with scenes that will live rent-free in my psyche for as long as I may live. We first see Clint sitting in the back of the town's meeting where the small business owners have gathered to protest the shutdown of the beaches. Clint seems to be all too aware of how dangerous this shark really is, saying he will hunt and kill it for the townspeople, asking for $10,000 to bring in such a dangerous beast, opposed to the $3,000 currently up for offer. The mayor is not too enthusiastic about this though, wanting to bury his head in the sand and hope it will just go away. I say all this because it shows he's not like the local fisherman trying to make an easy buck. He's all too aware of what he's getting himself into. He paints himself as a real man's man, giving Hooper a hard time when he requests to come aboard the ship. He looks at Hooper like he's
Utterly insane.
loading the shark cage onto the boat, but he uses confidence as they set sail to bag them a killer fish. When they get out to sea, Clint is all relaxed, seemingly just going through the motions, like he's done this 1,000 times before. In fairness, he probably has. He may joke around a bit too much and have a knack for getting on people's nerves, but that's just the kind of guy he is. He's formed by his past, but he's not a bastard.
What? Damn it, Martin! This is compressed air.
Well, what the hell kind of a knot was that?
You pulled the wrong one. You screw around with these tanks and they're gonna blow up.
Yes, real fine, expensive gear you brought out here, Mr. Hooper. But I don't know what that bastard shark's gonna do with it. Might eat it, I suppose. Seen one eat a rocking chair one time.
Telling Brody just to ask him next time he has to undo a knot, as he gets an earful from Hooper for loosening the wrong one. In the very next scene, he's teaching Brody how to tie said knot. He does take care of the sheriff, in his own kind of way, being his first time on sea on such an expedition. As unserious as he portrays himself, As soon as the shark, in fairness, we don't know it's the shark in this scene, begins to make its presence known, he's all business. It's not long till the shark, who I'ma now start referring to as Bruce, rears its ugly head. The three are in awe at the sheer size of Bruce, even Quint. Quint is still in high spirits, treating this like any other expedition he's been on. As far as he's aware, 1, maybe 2 barrels shot from his harpoon gun will surface Bruce and, in effect, kill him. Bruce drags the first barrel under the water with him. A surprise for sure, but still, nothing Quint hasn't seen before. This leads us nicely to the next amazing scene. After Quint and Hooper's dick measuring contest, showing each other their scars, Robert Shaw blesses us with another chilling monologue about his time spent aboard the Indianapolis, a real-life secret mission ordered by the US military to deliver the bomb they would later drop upon Nagasaki. It's something the shark-obsessed Hooper knows about all too well.
You were on the Indianapolis?
What happened? Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief.
As the poor men who went into the water were terrorized by sharks for weeks. This monologue is haunting, to say the least, as he recalls the events of how friends and brothers-in-arms were torn apart and eaten alive as they floated defenseless in the water. This gives us, the audience, some explanation to why Quint made a career out of shark hunting. Maybe as a sort of revenge for all the brothers he lost, or maybe as revenge for the nightmares he must have about those weeks spent at their mercy in the water. Maybe he's just good at it and it makes him money. Point is, Quint knows all there is to know about sharks. Like Hooper, it became an obsession for him, though while Cooper was more interested in studying them, Quint is far more comfortable to just kill them. Unfortunately for Quint, one thing he says at the end of the monologue is a nasty foreshadowing for what's to come.
On Thursday morning, Chief, I bumped into a friend of mine, Herbie Robinson from Cleveland. Baseball player, bosun's mate. I thought he was asleep. Reached over to wake him up. Bobbed up and down in the water. It was like a kind of top. Upended. Well, he'd been bitten in half below the waist.
Bruce reappears and begins attacking the boat, thrashing his tail at the boat's hull. It becomes clear that Bruce is apparently going out of his way to attack them. Sharks are like any other predator. They only attack for food. Bruce is different though. Bruce seems to be targeting humans. Sharks, and this is a real fact, do not like the taste of humans. They often mistake us for seals, take a bite out of us, then spit us back out. Of course, by that point, it's a bit late and you've already lost your leg. The next day, as they're repairing the damage, Bruce's barrel reappears. As they inspect it, Bruce reappears to give them a nasty shock. Sheriff Brody has seen all he needs to and attempts to radio in for support. Quint's ego won't take that though, destroying the radio and unknowingly sealing his fate. Bruce isn't gone though. They ready another barrel and shoot it into him. It doesn't seem to be slowing him down. Quint shoots and attaches a second barrel to Bruce, but to his and his crew's shock, Bruce once again takes them down. Quint seems almost impressed by this. The 2 barrels surface once more, and they tie them onto the end of the boat in an attempt to drag Bruce to shore, essentially trying to beach him. But Bruce puts up a fight, almost pulling the boat over and flooding the engine. They shoot a 3rd barrel into Bruce. Quint is adamant that Bruce won't be able to go under with 3 barrels attached to him, but the mood on the boat changes, and Quint looks on in disbelief as the 3 barrels disappear under the water. They make for shore as Bruce begins to chase them. Quint begins to become unhinged as he pushes the waterlogged motor of his boat too hard. Finally, the engine blows and they're sitting ducks. Quint's demeanor has changed, slowly realizing he's never had to deal with such an animal before. He looks at his flooded boat, handing the other 2 life jackets he sits on the bow, out of his own ideas. Finally, he turns to Hooper, asking what he can really do with the gear he's brought on board. Hooper tells him that if he gets at Bruce's mouth, where the skin is the weakest, he can pierce it with his spear and inject a poison, hopefully killing him. So, they assemble the cage and lower Hooper into the water. Bruce makes short work of the cage, with Hooper just narrowly avoiding him as he gets caught up in its wires. This leads us to my one terrifying scene.
That was really bad.
Even as I'm writing this, watching the scene on my second monitor, it has my fingers tingling. The way Bruce suddenly explodes out of the water and onto the end of the boat, which begins to lopside under the sheer weight of the monster fish. The lack of any score helps us to be in the moment, with just the sound of Quint trying in vain to grab a hold of something firm to stop himself sliding down into Bruce's mouth. The way the gas canister crushes his hand, sending him sliding down the deck. Brody tries in vain to take a hold of his wet glove, his legs kicking and thrashing around on the deck as the mute killer eats everything in its way, finally closing its jaws around the waist of Quint with a horrifying crunch as the shark hunter lets out an eerily realistic, blood-curdling scream that seems to go on for minutes, trying to stab at the beast until finally choking on his own blood. We hear another audible crunch as Bruce severs his spinal cord and swallows Quint whole. Truly is one terrifying scene. I'm watching this on Prime Video, and one thing they do is sometimes have trivia or goofs on the side when pausing the film. The trivia says that in the original script, Quint was killed off by drowning. The rope from his harpoon that he fires at Bruce wraps around his foot, and he is pulled underwater, calling for Brody to give him the knife. They go on to say that this is how his character dies in the book, and it's an homage to Ahab's death in Moby Dick, but they later decided that Quint needed to be eaten by the shark, as it would be a more tragic end for his character, based on his experience on the USS Indianapolis. I believe the reason I still find this scene has such an effect on me is due to how it affected me when I first saw it when I was about 6 or 7. The film, as well as Shaw himself, builds such a strong character in Quint, the expert, crusty old sea dog who has tangled with all kinds of sharks before, cool as nails or whatever the saying is. Seeing that man with such fear, knowing he's about to live through his worst nightmare, terrifies me. It did back then, and it does today. Anyway, you know how the rest goes. Brody feeds Bruce a gas canister.
Ooh, piece of candy.
As the orca sinks, he lays on the mast, misses a few shots with the rifle, until finally, smile you son of a... Hooper resurfaces and the two swim back to shore. Jaws is a very special film to me. It's one of the first movies I remember watching as a kid that made me begin to realise what art was, even if I couldn't articulate it at the time. It's a beautifully shot masterpiece.
Oh, it's a tattoo. I got that removed.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Mother.
And is a factor that sparks my love for film. My parents are both heavy cinephiles themselves, so it was most likely going to happen either way. I remember I was so scared the first time I saw Clint's death that my parents put on the behind the scenes for me after the film so I could see it was all make-believe. And thinking about it, that was the first time I had ever seen behind the scenes. I was sort of in awe seeing how a film actually gets made. It was one of those films that we would watch hundreds of times as a family. I still know every scene, word for word. I even still have the exact DVD we used to watch, one of the most sentimental films in my collection. Anyway, I'm rambling. I will most likely do a full review of this film one day, but I have some other projects I'm working on right now. This was just an idea that had been floating around in my head for a while, and I needed to get it out. I have a Letterbox now as well, so give us a follow and I'll follow you back. I love discussing films and seeing what movies other people are watching. But anyway, thank you so much for watching.
And, you know, it has been physically very unpleasant and even quite dangerous some of the time. The seas have been high, the boat sank 3 times, you know. My death, you know, going into the shark's jaws, it's a very unpleasant thing. The goddamn thing weighs about, I don't know how many tons, several tons, and the jaws absolutely come down on me with the hydraulic pressure, you know. When you do it 14 or 15 times in this kind of weather, in the cold, slide right into it. And then the teeth come and bite you out of it. Not very nice.